Sierra Leone, with its hilly and mountainous regions, faces transportation challenges, particularly in rural areas where roads are underdeveloped. Cable cars provide a cost-effective and practical solution for moving people and goods across difficult terrain, reducing the need for extensive road construction. Sierra Leone's rich landscapes and scenic beauty have great potential for tourism. Cable cars can attract visitors by offering unique experiences while generating income for local communities, boosting the country's economy. In rural areas, cable cars can enhance accessibility to healthcare, education, and markets, especially for communities that are difficult to reach by road. This can significantly improve the quality of life, reducing isolation and promoting social inclusion. Urban centers like Freetown suffer from traffic congestion due to a lack of infrastructure. Cable cars can help alleviate this problem by providing an alternative mode of transport, reducing the pressure on roads and improving overall urban mobility. Cable cars run on electricity, which makes them an eco-friendly alternative to fuel-powered vehicles. In regions where deforestation and air pollution are growing concerns, adopting cable cars could help reduce the environmental impact of transportation. The Freetown City Mayor, Yvonne Aki Sawyer, explained the benefit of this project for Freetown residents, which will elevate the transportation problem in the city and promote climate change. The mayor revealed that the first phase of this project, which is the feasibility study, has already been completed. The next phase, which is financing, is the most important, and she is hopeful that the financing of this project will be met. Let's hear from the mayor.
Patients, like we keep hearing the plans, the beautiful idea of the cable car. What's the status? At what stage is the cable cars?
So I think it'd be good to just remind everybody of the journey. And one of the reasons why I'm so happy that Taya is here is because obviously, Baya is here is because obviously people who build them can tell you what the process is like. So we started off with a concept, and I must give a shout out to a gentleman called Arthur Nickel, who walked into our office at the end of 2018 and said to us, for our urban mobility plans, have you thought about a cable car? He had a conversation with engineer Madupe, and then fortuitously, I was in Durban in 2019 and met with the then mayor, the mayor of Medellin, a city in Colombia that had done the first cable car as a mass transit system. So for people to understand, you have cable cars for skiing, for tourists. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a cable car system that is an alternative to trains or trams that moves thousands of people in an hour. So it's a mass transit system. So I had that conversation, and literally, as they say, the rest is history. But what is the history? First, we began to engage with the city of Medellin to understand from an engineering perspective what would be required, to look at the topography, to look at how we would go about doing a feasibility study. Because you can't do an investment of tens of millions, or even as it expands, hundreds of millions of dollars without there being the technical and financial feasibility study. And what do we mean by feasibility study? Somebody has to look in great detail at all the issues to make sure this can work. Because to pay for it, whoever is putting their money in is not going to do it without that assurance. So we started the pre-feasibility. We went on to the full feasibility, which we launched in 2022. And at the launch event, we explained that the full feasibility would take 2 years. This week, the team that have been working with us, based in Germany, based in Austria, based in Freetown, as well as one of the manufacturing companies, are all here to present the full feasibility study results. So that's what the journey has been. Concept, pre-feasibility, full feasibility. Now we have a documents, not even one document, several documents, which give assurance that this project is viable. Next phase, raising the money. So some of the money is lining up already, but we're going to require more engagement with other partners to bring the rest of the money to the table. Also, government approval and support is required because this is something it has to be integrated into the national transport infrastructure. We have the Wakafine bus. We have the Ministry of Transport in charge of transport. You can't introduce a transport system into the city without that being, coordinated and integrated into the whole transport landscape and regulatory framework for Sierra Leone.
What's the total estimated budget to actualize this cable cars in Sierra Leone, and what are the areas of possible funding you're sorting?
Okay, so the first thing is what's the cost. So we're planning for 3 lines. There's an east line, which is our pilot line, from Kisif Ferry Terminal to Government Wharf. Then we have the mountain line. The Government Wharf is where everything converges. It's like the main hub. The mountain line that goes up to Furby College in the mountain site, and then you have the west line that goes across to Lumley. So this pilot line is what we've costed, and that now is $91 million. That includes the infrastructure, so the actual cable car itself. It also includes the 5 stations, because there will be stations, like you would have a train station, there will be actual stations. There are 5 stations. It includes the power component, because we will have dedicated solar power, a solar power plant for the cable car, and it includes, various other things, sort of land acquisition and such like costs. So the cost is $91 million. The good news is the revenue projections show that cost will be covered, even though we are looking at a fare of a maximum at the moment of 16 leones from Government Wharf to Kisif Ferry Terminal.
So you spoke about the money, but you've not answered the how.
Oh, so the how. So the money comes, it will be what we call blended finance. So there'll be different components. The manufacturer comes with money. And Bear will speak about what the possibilities are, the potential, in terms of their support financially through their government. Then you have the construction element, the power element. And the main sources of funding, besides potential concessional debt, is also grant financing. This is a green project. This is actually climate resilient, climate friendly, a real positive contributor to our climate action plan. It means we are reducing carbon emissions because of taking vehicles off the road. It means we're improving the air quality. We are also connecting residents who are in harder to reach areas, and all of this will result in increased economic productivity. The estimated time for the journey from Kisif Ferry Terminal to Government Wharf will now be 15 minutes.
I was going through a write-up, and it makes very clear that in an hour, about 6,000 people will be transported from various locations, which sounds very good, taking into account the current challenges that we face moving from one location to another using either bus or perhaps vehicles. But again, I haven't mentioned the total cost. What's Sierra Leone's contribution in that cost?
We're not looking for Sierra Leone to make a cash contribution. We're looking for Sierra Leone to make contributions in terms of the land. Obviously, all of this technical work has been done with us as well. The management team is going to be initially international, but we're wanting to pass those skills on to Sierra Leoneans so that we take forward this with the operations and the maintenance. So we understand our financial situation nationally, and that's why as the City Council, as the initiators of this, we've engaged central government. Yesterday we were able to present the report to the Vice President and to relevant ministers, and I'm really very grateful for the level of support and enthusiasm that everybody has for this, recognizing what a game changer it will be for the city. So we're not looking to Sierra Leone to say, put money in. This is a commercial venture, you know. There is interest from investors to finance this and to get their returns. But to make it more attractive, we are looking to bring in grant funding to lower the cost. So what the investor is putting in will be smaller, because we all understand, you know, our country has a lot of has challenges, which means it's not necessarily your #1 investment destination. So you need to make it more attractive. But one thing I'll say first that's I think is worth pointing out: we aren't going to be the first. There's already a cable car under construction in Madagascar. Yeah. But in West Africa, and that's one, so we'll be #2. And what I can tell you is that in Dakar, Lagos, I think also Accra, feasibility studies have started. So there is a realization across the continent that what is already going on in Latin America, because after Medellin, we then had Bogota, La Paz, New Mexico, many cities in Latin America now use the cable car as a reliable source of urban mass transit.
I know at this moment you're very excited, knowing very well how long the feasibility studies has taken, about 2 years. But does the physical topography of Sierra Leone, does it present an added, of Freetown, does it present an added advantage?
Well, let me ask Bea to answer that. So Samuel's saying, given that Freetown is hilly, does our city's topography make it even more advantageous to use the cable car? Because I know you have the cable car in different cities, so perhaps you could answer that question for us. Does the topography, the geography, make this a better place to do a cable car?
Yes, you are right. We have 8,000 installations by the world. In the world, we have also some installation in North Africa.
Ah, okay.
Height is very interesting, but we can also use the cable car when the situation is plain. It's not problematic for us. We can do it in all places. And Sierra Leone and Freetown, it's very interesting topographic for transport by cable. You can use it without any problem.
So in as much as the feasibility has been completed, how long will it take this dream to be a reality? How long will it take?
So I'm going to come in here because we need to split it into 2 parts. Feasibility is done.
I know.
Next, finance.
Okay.
Before construction. Okay. Construction, that's clear. She can tell you how long construction will take. Typically, how long would it take?
18 months, the project is finished.
So our unknown element is how long it'll take to raise the money. So we've got on one side now, clarity, we've got a plan. On another side, manufacture, construction time, 18 months. In between, we need to raise the money.
And so raising the money makes it to still be a dream?
No. Well, it's always, nothing is done until it's done, but we have so many pointers now and a clear path, conversations that have started, and interest. I think it's important to remember that we're at a time when the world recognizes the importance of addressing the climate crisis. Right. And this is a climate solution. And not only is it a climate solution that will work for Freetown, it's one, if it's successful, can be then replicated in other cities around the world. In the same way that we're piggybanking on what's happened in Latin America, we can see that this, and when it started in Latin America, from Medellin, their initial view was not the climate, it was connectivity. Yes, it was actually, it was socioeconomic. How could they bring the residents in the favelas, the ones on the mountains, in the informal settlements, how could they connect them better to the central business district, improve access to education, health, and so forth. But now we get the co-benefits. So that would be addressed. But for us and for finance reasons, the main message is this is good for the environment. This is good for productivity of our city.
We'll come to pay in a minute. Still with you, Mayor. Sierra Leone as a nation over the maybe last couple of years, our eyes seem to have been opened to some of the deals we've made from perhaps a disenfranchised position as a nation, the toll gate situation, how we're paying crazy, and the impact of that on people, on the people of Sierra Leone, just to pay back that. Now you're saying on the financing aspect of this, you're looking for grants, but you're also looking for the investors. There is Accra, you've said, they're doing, doing their own feasibility. There is Dakar. These cities have more population than Freetown City does. So for an investor, you're looking at what's the competitive advantage that Sierra Leone is putting forward to attract investors to invest in this, because the key goal for every investor is return on their investment. And the lower the population size, the slower it would take to get your money. What are we putting forward?
So very, very important point, but I would also make a distinction there in terms of your comparison, because your level of investment is also linked to the size of the population. So they're obviously not going to be investing the same. You know, this is a smaller system, it's fewer lines, it's a shorter distance. So your return is going to be relative to the investment, and investment is going to be relative to the context. So in terms of what we're putting forward, and again, I mentioned specifically that we could have just gone straight to the market, but we're actually already in engagement with DFIs to bring in that grant funding. So you're looking to increase your return, not necessarily by the nature of or even the level of fares, but by reducing the cost that the investor is meeting because you're bringing in the grant financing. So this is what's known as blended finance, bringing in the public sector, the private sector, philanthropy, in order to reduce the cost for the private sector investor to make it more attractive. And where we have an advantage is that we have already moved ahead of the game. We have invested in a feasibility study that is solid. You know, we were able to secure the funding from C40 Cities. You know, I'm co-chair of C40 Cities. That was not because I'm co-chair. We went through a proper process like other people, but we were fortunate to be able to secure just shy of $1 million US, which does not come to us. Let's also clarify, because we always have this misunderstanding. The minute mayor says an amount, they're like, then don't put it on city council. No. It's not put in City Council's hands. It was put in the hands of the implementing partner, which in this case was GIZ, and they brought in other experts, you know, tram experts, different ropeway experts, and so on. So in short, the answer to your question is, what we bring is the fact that the feasibility study is done, the fact that this links in with our climate action plan. So this is actually an intervention in our climate action plan. So the fact that we have a strong case as an early mover, an early adapter, who is ready to go. The investor actually can use our investment as a proof of concept to then move on to other cities as they move forward with their process. No one is going to be able to leapfrog over doing a detailed feasibility study. No matter who they are, they're going to have to invest the time and the money to get that done. And it takes time. And when you're more big and more complex, like Lagos, because I know Lagos has been on this even before we started. But their situation is very complex. I know they've made a huge amount of progress, but their situation is very complex because even when it comes to their stations, you know, accessing the land for their stations, almost all the land that they were looking at, the last time I engaged with that team, was private land. You know, so there was a lot more they had to do with negotiations and so on. So every context is different, but we're really thrilled that we are kind of almost there. We're there with our study. We're right behind Madagascar, and we've got the political will backing it.
There is the green fund available in the basket for climate change, where Africa as a continent now, we contribute less compared to other continents with climate change issues. So you know what's available there is that Africa should now benefit from the funds to be able to embark on activities to curtail the impact. This could qualify as one of those. So what's the case you're making to tap into those funds available?
The one I've just made just now. The one I've just made just now. You know, we did our climate action plan. We launched it in 2022. In our climate, or maybe it was 2021. No, it's 2022. And in doing that, we really studied the data. And we know that transportation emissions account for 28% of our emissions. The introduction of the cable car will reduce that by 50%. So in terms of our carbon footprint, it will reduce it significantly. But not only that, I often say when I'm on world platforms or international platforms that we are teeny weeny contributors to the global climate crisis. Our carbon emissions as a whole continent is not as much as 4% of the entire world. So when we talk about carbon reduction, yes, it's important, but from the perspective of the global crisis, it's not us. I say the West, we're driving a Bentley, and we were driving a bicycle, and they hit us with their Bentley, and now they want us to repair both. In reality, the main co-benefit for me, besides the reduction of emissions, is our own health in the city. We are inhaling the fumes from our kekes, okadas, podas, those buses, many of it, not the new ones, but the old ones, many of which are, you know, really old, and the quality of the fuel that we are using is poor. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but someone at the Ministry of Health recently told me that of our 4 top killers, non-communicable diseases, chronic respiratory disease is among the top 4. Because not only are we, I mean, that's a whole other thing. I mean, we're inhaling this, but we're also, of course, cooking with wood and charcoal. So the carbon that comes from that, which is onto our fecal sludge plant, that's another intervention that you guys are aware of. But coming, as far as this is concerned, it is a winner on all fronts for the city.
Yes, say.
Bye.
Oh, bye. Let's look at investments wise. I think the mayor has made several pointers in terms of what needs to be done at this moment. Are you hopeful at this moment, knowing very well that you come with such an initiative in this part of the world? Are you hopeful for same to be actualized within the soonest of time? I mean, garnering the required funds. Are you hopeful?
You speak about financing. With the French government, we have possibility to have a concessional loan. The French government support this project, and he would like to help government of Sierra Leone to construct this this roadway. We have these possibilities. It's very important for us to have the French government with us.
I mean, I think that one makes a lot of sense at this moment, knowing very well that it's been very challenging to get the required funds.
And Sammy, what I'd like to
knowing
point
very
out,
well that the feasibility has been completed,
yes,
and then funds are required.
Yes, so it makes a lot of sense. And the other thing you want to understand is we didn't start this journey with Puma. We didn't know Puma. We went on this journey on our own. With the C40 finance facility support, we got the feasibility study done. We went to Essen in Germany. I was in Essen in Germany in April, I think it was, in April. And we did a presentation, and we invited the manufacturers to come to the presentation. We invited construction firms, people who were interested in investing in a cable car system. We invited them, we had a session, and we presented. That's when I met Bea. And she was like, we like this. We can do this. And so we had meetings there in Germany. We continued the discussion, and as the feasibility study ended, they also came on board. They presented to their government and said, this is viable, and we are here today.
The viability could be one, but
financially viable.
Good. I know financially viable
Okay.
could be one,
Okay.
but in terms of I haven't studied the environment and many other things. Do you think? I think one of the things many Sierra-Leoneans, including myself, I'll be thinking of at this moment, even though yes, it will be powered by solar. What I'll be thinking of is the durability of having a new system of search being introduced in this part of the world. Will you speak to Sim?
Mayor, please.
Yes, so he's asking if what you think about the maintenance of it. Is that, am I right?
Maintenance and durability.
Durability, like the durability of the equipment?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
You can use it for during 30 years without problem. You need to have a good maintenance. You must have a good maintenance every day, every month, every week. In some period, like every 10 years, you have to change some component, electronic component. 50 years, you change the cable. You have to do some maintenance. We provide a plane to respect, and if you respect correctly the maintenance, you can use it during 30 years without any problem. The system is very safety, and the security is very important for us. We need to respect the process.
Knowledge transfer is also another thing.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and I'm sure you know that I'm very big on knowledge transfer.
Sure.
Because we really want to see everything done indigenously. So this is a great opportunity for a whole new set of skills to be developed and built. We have people doing engineering and coming out and not having that many things to get involved in. This is a real opportunity. We can have we sort of call a feed of people, a pipeline of young people coming into this sector and specializing in this sector. So yeah.
We train them,
Yeah.
and we develop a new competence in the city.
What is it looking like for us on the area of financing? Because at this point you are. Only thing holding on to the progress is getting the money. What are the prospects in that area?
We're positive. I mean, I'm going to point to a few other interventions, and they're obviously smaller in terms of scale, but where people would maybe not have thought this could happen. So I'll say, for example, when we said we're going to plant 1 million trees, right? We had a fundraiser at the Radisson on the 3rd of January 2020. We raised $35,000. We needed over $2 million. Today, we've raised more than that. And we will raise more than that because we've planted 1.2 million, and now we've set a target of 4 million trees by 2028. The post-grad training for gynecology. I'm not sure how many people even know our involvement in that or are aware of it. But when I was in my last term, we had reducing maternal mortality as one of our objectives under our health targets. Through a conversation with a gynecologist, it was brought to my attention that our biggest challenge with being able to get that number down, in that person's opinion, was the fact that we aren't training gynecologists here. And when our young doctors go abroad and train, they don't come back. So we don't have gynecologists. I was able, through a network, to raise $3.5 million, which is with the Ministry of Health. We now have a gynecology school, and they've had their first set of graduates. So it's only impossible until it's done. And I'm bringing random examples, which have nothing to do with a cable car, just to show that when you've got clear plans, and you're able to demonstrate the viability and the need for financing, and in this case, because it's commercial, as opposed to the funding for the school was a grant for the postgrad school. The funding for the trees is initially a grant, but now with the 4 million, we're moving to the private sector. So with the carbon developer that we're working with, we're now providing an offering for people to invest in our trees in order to offset their carbon in their businesses. So I will say what Mandela said. It's only impossible until it's done. I had a conversation with a major infrastructure investor over the weekend. They don't have Sierra Leone among their list of countries and they can't come, so that's fine. But what she was able to do was to give me 4 other organizations who do have Sierra Leone within their profile. And Bea works on the finance side with their company. We will work now together, and not just me, but our other wider team, C40 Finance Facilities. We have their support as well. So we actually have a team who now, for the next few months, our business will be to find the money. And by God's grace, and with the fact that the government is also supportive, because obviously if you know, we need to go forward, and the world needs to know this isn't standing by itself. It's going to be part of a broader solution for the country of Sierra Leone. I'm confident with that, you know, I can't tell you how long, and I know, Salomon, if I dare say, if I dare even give a guesstimate, they will be holding me to that, so I'm not going to give any estimates until we move further. But I'm confident that this can be done.
It makes it a lot easier and faster when the government in itself is together on this journey. And this comes from the history that you have had with the central government. What's your current relationship with the central government?
Well, Fabian, I mean, I think with what we've done to transform Freetown and all the funds that we've raised, you know, I'm going to say again that perhaps the most important point for anybody to put money into an intervention, whether it's private finance, it's philanthropy, it's grant, is for there to be clarity of plans and assurance that there will be delivery, effective delivery. And that's why we are so transparent in everything that we do. That's why every single year our Transform Freetown reports show in great detail. That's why we communicate that to our partners, our stakeholders. So it's really important. The principal, foundational requirement to attract funding is for there to be the confidence that the funds will be utilized effectively. Relationships with central government, I'm so pleased that, you know, we actually, as you know, there was the boycott because of the challenges with the results of the election, which are very well documented and very well known. But the APC came to the table with the SLPP, with the government, and we agreed to do the agreement of national unity. In that agreement, the APC took up our offices, and the SLPP committed for there to be a good cordial working relationship. And we're continuing to honor those agreements. So what we do on a day-to-day basis now seeks to honor what was signed on the 18th of October, which is that from the perspective of elected officials, we will be in office, and from the perspective of government, we will work collaboratively to ensure that the people of Sierra Leone and the people of Freetown are the benefiters.
Aside finance, which stands as one of the key impediment to
it's not an impediment, it's part of the process.
It seems more like
Samuel,
yes,
I want to challenge your narrative there, because if you look at life through the prism of problems, it actually holds us back as a nation. There is no project in the world that is going to be delivered without funding.
Sure.
Accessing funding is part of the process. It's not a problem, it's a part of the process. So we've done the first part, which is the feasibility. Now the next part is raising the finance. It is something that has to be done.
Let me help to make it easier. Aside finance, which seems one of the challenges that is holding the projects back at the moment.
It's not holding it back. We've just finished the feasibility. If in 1 year's time I'm sitting here and we don't have finance, you can tell me it's holding it back.
You're right.
Today we have literally just finished the feasibility study. We haven't begun the finance raise, so it's not holding us back.
What do you consider, and even Bay, what do you consider as a challenge going forward? In as much as, of course, there seems to be a very clear picture in terms of a roadmap and, you know, to the smooth implementation of this project. What do you consider as a challenge?
It's very important for us to have a second system in Africa, because now we have a city with a lot of traffic. And the different studies, we see with the different studies that the population come to the city more and more. We need to find a good solution. And transport by cable is one of them, because it's ecological transport. You don't need a lot of construction in the city. In only 18 months, you have the system ready to function. And the construction don't cause a lot of problematic in the city. Only the station, and you put tower on the road. It's very practical and clean transport. And for us, it's a new challenge and a new solution for countries in Africa and South America in the future.
Okay, I think we've had some messages on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
We've had a barrage of messages that we should go through. Yes.
Abubakar Rashid says, with challenges with electricity, how do you really want to go about this urban cable car business?
Jibril Doumbia says, Madam Mayor, it's a good idea for the cable car, but Sierra Leone, we lack maintenance. Even the government buses, they can only last for a year and disappear.
Osman Prince Sulaiman Kavani says, how many cars are we talking about? What's the capacity? Are we talking about on land or in space transportation? How much does it cost per car? How much could be changed per person? Have you mapped the topography and distance for cost?
Donald Block says, Madam Mayor, are we getting any financial contributions or collaboration with the European Union on this new cable car project for Sierra Leone?
Okay. Hosam Conte says, Madam Mayor, clear Bome Fosba.
Stanley Nyale says, is the cable car going to clean our city, build markets, and remove street traders off the streets? These